This is Sean O'Shaughnessey. Kevin and I host a group called the B2B Sales Lab. During the hosting of that, we occasionally have office hours, and we recently did an office hour, and we were kind of ahead of the people that joined us for the conversation. So we just started talking about sales and the message that we wanted to do. And we're kind of recording a message to our B2B Sales Lab community. Now, the B2B Sales Lab community is this community of salespeople, sales leaders, sales professionals that get together to talk about issues, problems, successes they're having, things that they wish they knew how to do better, things that they want to share with others that worked or didn't work, a wide variety of topics. It's also a community where you can type in messages and write posts onto a dashboard so other people can comment or give advice as well. Because we had fun doing this, we decided to turn it into a Two Tall Guys Talking Sales episode. It was recorded on April 1st, so you'll hear some references to April 1st or April Fool's Day during the episode. You'll also hear us talking about the B2B Sales Lab and kind of the reason that people be on there. So listen to that. If you're interested in the B2B Sales Lab and in joining our community of professionals, I encourage you to go to B2B, that's B with the number 2, followed by another B, sales-lab.com, and learn more about our community and what it means to be part of a community of sales professionals who are trying to help each other achieve their quota, be successful in their career, and grow as individuals. We decided not to give this recording to our assistant to have her do an introduction. We figured my introduction was probably enough and that you can just go from here. So without further ado, here is Kevin.
The thing that I wanted to talk about today is specifically, hey, now is the time to ensure hygiene, accuracy for success. And this goes whether you're way ahead, way behind, or right on your quota year to date.
I agree with
Because
that.
the thing that I find with most sales teams is they've got a bunch of leads out there they haven't touched in a while because they were trying to close their quarter strong. Gang, after 5 p.m. today, this is an after 5 activity. Go into your leads pipeline quickly, back of the napkin. Which ones are absolutely dead? Get them out. Which ones need to be breathed some life into? Let's set those up for outreach and touch points because we need to no-go those in large part quickly. So set a deadline for yourself, set a deadline for the next activity, and let's get that leads pipeline cleaned up. If somebody's in there aspirationally, don't put them in there for this quarter. You know there's more work to do than 90 days worth of work. Let's put them in there realistically so you don't have to do this again next quarter, right? We're not trying to pencil whip our leads. So again, let's take care of the leads portion of this because that is our data portion. That's the sales ops coming out of me going, hey, we're going to have a really poorly managed pipeline if we don't manage the underlying data going forward. And separately, since Sean knows I love this stuff, if you got a sales instance in your CRM where you got like, hey, Kevin, I got a lot of clutter in here. I'm not sure where to start. I'm your guy. You should be reaching out to me and going, hey, I've got my spreadsheets out of line, my CRM's out of line, my data doesn't look good. Now, Sean, let's kick this over to you and let's talk about the active deals that slipped or the ones that have some bad data or somebody's gone silent on us to get ready for Q2.
I agree with getting ready for Q2. In fact, I literally just got done doing my pipeline commit for Q2 to the CEO of my client for my team. I had a boss a long time ago that said, what's your knuckle number? So if you actually, the old movie, Michael Douglas, Black Rain, Japanese mafia movie, and knuckle number was when you screwed up, when you didn't do it, it literally was put your finger on the cutting board, take the knife, and sever. It was right when Black Rain had just come out, so everybody kind of knew the reference. And I lived with that thought process of, what's your knuckle number? I'm not going to cut your fingers off, but what is it?
Oh, oh man, I'm thinking about all things Miami Vice, Crockett and Tubbs, and pushed up. So, but that's a good thing to think about. So, Sean, you know this about me. I like to develop reports. So, any CRM, I like to say, hey, what report will show me all of my deals, opportunities that are past due? Where has the close date slipped in the past? Because if I can quickly identify those in a list format, I should be able to quickly edit those. It's an exercise of go, no go, adjust the date, adjust the dollar value, adjust the scope. Because if you're like most companies, you had some product releases. I'm using my air quotes here if you're listening to this, product releases that were supposed to happen in Q2. And those product development releases have gone to Q3. So you might need to update your scope of your lead forecast to reflect when that will actually be available because you can't book it or you can't bill it until it's ready to be booked or billed.
That's a big deal in certain industries that I've played in before, where if you have talked to a customer about a future product enhancement to the product, it legally, if you're a public corporation, you're legally not allowed to book that deal. Now, salespeople rarely tell the CFO, "Hey, I brought that deal in on the promise that we were going to put that new feature in. That I know we're going to put that new feature in. So don't book that deal because it's not legit yet." That the salespeople just don't do that. I hate to say that publicly and on record, but it's true. But it is true that there will be customers out there that were waiting for that next thing, that next feature to be out there to be proven that it would actually work. Fix that bug, some cases as well. Like, I'm not going to buy this until you ship the old one. All that kind of stuff happens. So, those companies that slipped out of Q1, that, back when we were in December, November, we were thinking this is a Q1 deal. So, we're not going to work on it for the end of the year. And now it slipped out of Q1 because something else happened. And things happen. Let's be honest, right? Things screw up, things happen. The person in charge had a baby or whatever. So things happen that deals slip. We know that. But now we need to double down. Like, you cannot have a deal slip 2 quarters. You just can't. And definitely can't have a deal slip 3 quarters. So if it slipped because of one excuse, then another excuse, there is probably something at that prospect that they don't really want it. They don't really need it because they allowed excuses to slow down the deal. Now, that just means you have to find out, well, what is the pain of not having it now? Why don't you need it now? You thought you might need it in Q4. You definitely said you needed it in Q1, and now it's Q2. So, what is the pain of not having that? And you really need to double down as a salesperson and find that lack of having the new tool, the new service, the new product that you're selling, whatever you sell. You got to get that back into top of mind with the customers. Like, you've lived without this thing for 120 days now. I mean, how are you actually able to survive? How can you come to work in the morning without having it?
So, Sean, let me push back on this a little bit because I'm 100% in agreement. Now, let's talk about reality for a second. Does every salesperson say, hey, my deal is going to close this quarter versus, hey, my deal's probably not going to really close till fourth quarter, but I'm going to put it in this quarter to make my numbers look good? Here's the reason that we're talking about this today, all you sellers out there. Reality is always reality. An aspirational close date is absolute garbage. That's why we get a bad reputation. Don't get the rest of the salespeople a bad reputation for having aspirational deals or something like a sandbagger. It's just the opposite of being a sandbagger. We want reality to live in our CRM because what is a CRM? It's not a customer reporting module.
Right.
It's a customer relationship. So if you, as a seller, inherit somebody else's pipe, let's say you get a promotion, redesign territories. I mean, these things happen, right? If your territory is the benefactor of getting some great new AAA accounts, don't you want that data to be right? On the flip side of that, if you have to release a AAA account because all of a sudden you have Eastern and Central, whereas before you only had Eastern, don't you want to be the recipient of good information? Or you don't want, if you go from, hey, I had Eastern and Central and now you've only got Eastern time, do you want the Central time zone rep calling you every 3 days going, hey, what's the status of this? What's the real this? What's the last this? What's the last that? Do you want to be the sales assistant to somebody who's inherited all your accounts that you poorly managed? So all these things are just data drivers. They're data points that you can manage. And the reason we're beating this up is because guess what? Sean and I have seen these problems in spades. And Our job as sales leaders becomes intensely more difficult, and you feel intensely more micromanaged by a manager when you don't do a good job here. So if you're feeling micro and somebody's constantly asking you what's the status of, what stage is this actually, when is this deal actually closing? Why did you say in your notes that this is a June deal, but you've got it in Q1? Or why did you say Q4 and then it says it's going to close in June? Because you need to get through legal by May. So, any of you out there who are managing people or an early salesperson, a sales leader, a first time sales manager, look for these things. They'll make your life easier and don't beat people up with them. Be kind to them because you're taking them on a change management journey.
I think you've heard me say this. It's like your name is on the deal. I go into the CRM system, your name is on the deal. I expect it to be an accurate representation as you understand it of that deal. Now, if you don't understand something, then you didn't understand it. That's cool. I get it. It's not great. Let's be honest. Let's understand the deal. But if you don't understand, then that's at least understandable that you have questions about something, or you have only had one meeting with the economic buyer, or maybe you can't get to the economic buyer's office because that just is not being able to get there yet. So there's questions that you can't ask, that you can't get the right answer for, that you can't be confident that you're getting the right answers. That's an understandable thing. That should be relayed in the notes, that I've tried to understand what the business reason is they're doing this, but I'm just not getting good answers on this question. That's just a red flag. And red flags are what your sales manager, if it's me or Kevin, or if it's your actual boss, that's what they're here to help you get through. However, as well as you understand the deal, it is going to be this amount and it's going to close on approximately this day. As we're recording this is April 1st, and we're recording it April Fool's Day. If you had a deal that was going to close on April 2nd, tomorrow, then I would expect you to be like rock solid. It's going to close on April 2nd. Maybe it's going to slip a couple hours and make it into April 3rd, and it's probably going to be rock solid on the configuration. It's going to be this set of products, this many of that, this amount, this discount, all that stuff, rock solid. If it's going to be the next day, right? That's reasonable. If it's going to be a week from now, it's probably still pretty reasonable that you're going to be pretty close to get all the configuration right. And you're probably going to be really close to what the discount's going to be. And you're going to be really close on the date, although you might be Thursday or Friday for next week. Now, if I'm talking a month from now, well, maybe it is. I'm not sure which day of the week, but it's going to be this week. It's going to be the third week in April or the fourth month in April or whatever. And it's going to be approximately this configuration, because we still have to go one more round of how many do they need of this and how many do they need of that. But I'm going to be pretty close. I'm going to definitely be within 10%. If I'm talking about a deal that's 3 months from now, well, I don't expect you to know the date at all, because you haven't set a closing date for 3 months from now. So if it's 3 months from now, so if it's in September, then put September 15th, and I'll acknowledge that it's September 15th. It's the wrong day of the week. I don't care. It's going to be that month that you're planning on doing it. But the big thing is, be responsible. It is your name on the deal. And I don't care if it's like Kevin was just talking about, like you had to transfer the deal to somebody else and you don't want to be their babysitter anymore. Or if it's literally you're just want to have the reputation with your boss. When I say something is going to happen, it's going to happen. And therefore, don't micromanage me, because when I say it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And I know what's going to happen. I can plan it, and I'm going to ask you for help, boss, when I need help. When I need that special help, I'm all over it. I'm going to ask you for help. But you don't need to micromanage me, because when I tell you something, just look it up in CRM. It's all there. All my notes are in there. Everything's there. Just don't even ask me that question. If you have extra things that you want to ask me, oh, sure, fine. But don't ask me anything that's in the CRM, because it's all right. It's correct. I did it, and I am not going to lie to you. So if you have that philosophy, your boss actually will love you.
Will likely ask you to help others do what you do.
Yeah.
So, as a salesperson, how do you know behaviorally without the trophy case? How do you know if you're doing a good job? And when your boss asks you, "Hey, would you teach the rest of the team how you do this thing?" Know that you're doing it well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's probably a goal for every salesperson to have. What can I do that is helpful for the rest of my team? Whatever that might be. If you have 5 salespeople in the same city, the same office you're in, if you're all virtual and you never see anybody except for Zoom or some other tool for doing web conference calls. But how can I lead my team? How can I show my special thing that I know really well? Now, that might be how to manage CRM. It also could be, I know a lot about this particular industry that I'm selling to. I'm really good at selling to manufacturers, or I'm really good at selling to MSPs, managed services providers. Whatever the case might be, what are you really good at? And try to make a name for yourself, because you're going to get promoted for several reasons. You're going to get promoted because you accurately forecast. People trust that when you say you're going to get the deal done, the deal's going to get done. That's a big thing. You're going to get promoted because that number happens to be above quota on a regular basis. So you can commit to 20% of your quota, but don't expect that you're going to get any kind of promotion if you're always committing that you're 20% of quota. If you're always committing to be 120% of your quota, now you're making a name for yourself. If you're committing that you're going to do 150% of your quota, now you're really making a name for yourself. So be that overachiever, do what you say what you do, all that kind of good stuff. But be a leader of your peers. That's going to be the big thing, because that's what every sales manager wants. They want a team of people that are helpful to each other, even if it's a kind of a company where you don't have defined territories and everything's dog eat dog kind of thing. And the first one who gets the lead is the one who goes after that deal. That's still good. If you are helpful to others, if you mentor the new guy on the team, that gets noticed, and you will develop the skills to get promoted if you want to be promoted. Now, some people don't want to be promoted, but if you want to be promoted, that's how you do it. Overachieve, do what you say you're going to do, help others. That's how you get promoted.
Sean, it's interesting. And I'm thinking back to our last interview on yesterday's published podcast with Joe English. So if you haven't listened to that, here's a quick shout out. Go to the Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. Listen to the March 31st podcast with Joe English. And he talks about this kind of thing. And he's doing it from a sales leadership perspective. He says, basically, people don't care what kind of sales leader he was as a metric. He really cares about how many people he helped get to President's Club. That was the metric. That's the hallmark of, am I a good leader? How many people did I help get to the pinnacle of their career? Not how far did I go in my career? Because if you're helping that many people get to the pinnacle of their career, you rest assured you're getting to the pinnacle of your career. That's just good medicine all the way around. Sean, as we're wrapping up here, let's talk about, in these last few minutes here, KPIs going into Q2 and how to make President's Club, not from a sales leadership standpoint, from a personal lead yourself. How do I make President's Club or exceed my on target earnings for the year? So I'll lead us off by saying, hey, let's do a intellectually honest review of our activities. So when we say, what are our activities? It's not how many emails did you send? It's, am I developing new relationships? Referral partners or otherwise, but that's prospecting. Am I preparing for meetings? Do I have agendas? Do I have next steps? Do I have goals for meetings? Am I asking for the order? And am I asking for a referral? Let's just start there. And you don't have to be doing all of those, but those are some pretty good ones if you want to make what you want to make.
I agree with those 100%. And to add on to a few, and once again, you don't have to do everything in April, but you do need to be thinking about, how often am I one-on-one? Now, whatever one-on-one means, that might be one-on-one over Zoom, it might be one-on-one over the phone, or it might be one-on-one sitting across the desk from somebody. But how often in your world and what you sell, are you one-on-one with your customer? And the big thing is, in sales, the metric that always works, always works, is if you're talking to a customer, you're probably doing good things. If you're not talking to a customer, then you're not talking to a customer, and that your job is sales. No, we have to do it, right? We have to fill out the CRM. We have to do the proposal. We have to research the account, all that stuff. But how can you increase, since we're talking about KPIs, take a baseline of where you are talking to customers, and how do you increase that number just a little bit? Like, if you regularly make 4 sales calls a week, how do you do 5? If you regularly make 10 sales calls a week, how do you do 11 or 12? Because that little incremental time of being one-on-one, shaking hands, virtual shaking hands with your customer means that you actually might sell a bit more. You definitely will know more about the customer. They're going to know more about you, and you're going to be able to forecast accuracy to kind of go all the way back to that first conversation we just had of at least you can say, now, when are you going to buy this thing? So at least you can answer that question when your boss says, when are they going to buy? Because that's important.
Totally get it. So if you are in the camp of, hey, I don't have a ton of customers yet. So on this platform, we are all a community of professionals and we're trying to help each other. If you're struggling with this, I would encourage all of you to go to the member page and look up your peer members on this page. If you don't know them, I want to encourage you to reach out and go, hey, we haven't had a one-to-one yet. Not for the purposes of selling, but for the purposes of networking, because we're all helping each other. And you may find with this one question, hey, Sean, this is my market. Do you know anybody that is having this problem in this market with this degree of severity right now? If so, I think I'd like to talk to them if you'd be open to making that introduction. That's the referral. So if you're willing to do that on this platform because you are paying to be here, right? You're paying to be here. We want to make sure that that value is, this is not just a lead generation kind of motion. This is a, how do we help each other get better at our craft, which means developing professional networks, asking for help, being vulnerable enough to ask for insight and feedback, and then leaning in with others. That's the go-giver mentality. So Sean, wrap us up here.
I'm just going to say, go make some sales calls, have fun, enjoy being with your customer, however that works for you, and happy selling.